Welcome back to the BSN channel. Today I'm sitting next to my mother. Hello, Mum.
Hello, people.
Okay, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
That's good to see. It's good to hear. Today's discussion, we're talking about tribal conflicts concerning marriage, more specifically Ghana. And my mum will talk about her experiences or her views. What I want to talk about is the old views on marriage between tribes, whether there used to be trouble concerning what tribe you came from when you wanted to get married to a specific person. So, for example, if we take the Akan tribe in itself, there's many clans within that tribe. You know, you got Fanti, Ekrapim, you got many more. So there might be a problem, for example, back in the day. I don't know about now. We're more open-minded as Ghanaians now to mix with the tribes. You might, it might be more, it might be easier to bring someone from an Ewe tribe, someone from a Dagumba tribe to your Akan home, and it will be accepted. I'm not sure if every family still, accepts that. They might still be stuck in the past, but I like to see my mother's views on this. So, back in the days, it wasn't as accepting. Tribes weren't as welcoming because, it hasn't been that long since we've had our independence. It's been about 60 something years or something.
Almost about 55 years.
55 years.
Almost 60 is not yet.
So I'm guessing when you was a child, it hadn't been that long. Tribes were still isolated. They probably only mix when it comes to major cities like Accra, Cape Coast, Kumasi, Temeli. Those sort of center spots. So, what's your view on how it was back in the day, and how did you see it?
Well, for what I've seen, plus the job I do, so because as a counselor, I do counsel individual people as well. But first of all, I'll go to, what I do remember before I come to help people talking to me about the situation they're going through. Really, when I was young, I remember there was a teacher that was living in my village, and that particular teacher is an Ewe teacher, and he teaches in my village, and he had a girlfriend. He decided to marry this woman, who is a Ashanti woman, and this Ashanti woman was really in love with this guy, but her relatives, the woman's side, wasn't happy at all.
Okay.
Why? Because she was due to get married anyway. Not only that, she was even pregnant with this guy. And this guy came forward and said, I want to marry your daughter because, she's expecting my baby.
Which is understandable.
Yeah, in a respectful way. And then they said, no, she can't marry a woman. I remember, I know this
sad.
So much. So she went through different elders with the hope that, her relatives, family, siblings would agree with her. But they never come to terms the idea of Ashanti woman thinking of getting married to a woman. And I was a kid at the time. I wasn't even 16 or so. So I thought, what is this? Because I wasn't ready to get married anyway. I was still at school. And I listened to this story, and through that, this particular marriage, it wasn't a marriage. The actual marriage never, accepted. So in actual fact, what happened was they kept having kids. This girl would not stop with the relationship, and this guy was even stronger, taking this woman to his side. They had 2 kids.
2 kids, okay.
Yeah, and those 2 kids, when this teacher finished teaching, in that village. He then decided to go back to Hohoi, which is Ewe side,
Yeah, I know.
and then took the kids. He took those 2 kids and left the kids with the sister.
Is it because it's, in the Ewe tribe is more of a paternal
Yeah, the dad
lineage?
side. It's
So-
the dad side. The kids is like a white family.
That's what I meant. It's more of a paternal. It's
That's
it's
it.
not maternal.
No,
it's
no.
paternal.
It's paternal. Anyway, so then when these 2 kids were taken away for about a year, 2, 3 years, this woman, her parents wanted those grandchildren. And this guy said, no, they will never come back to Ashanti region. It wasn't long the guy got opportunity to travel and left the country to Canada. So when he left, he still came for this woman because they were still, as far as they are concerned, they are still a couple, even though their parents will not accept their marriage to go on. So the guy came for this woman and traveled. They've gone away. The kids never ever came back to Ashanti. These kids are in their 30s as I'm talking now. And then they don't even speak Twi anymore, apart from English and Ewe. Do you understand?
Yeah, because that's where they grew up.
Yeah.
And everything.
But going back to the story, to cut everything short, for the job I do, because I do counseling, with my career, what normally happens is individual people that I normally see is sometimes they have a marriage, different marriage programs.
Yeah.
And for example, somebody, spoke to me a couple of days ago and mentioned that I'm Infante and I'm married to Ashanti guy. Marriage was going on nicely, happily for the first 3 years. And then eventually the mother, which is Ashanti side,
Yeah.
decided that no, you haven't got children with this woman for 3 years now. So I want to have grandchildren. And not only that, if you had children with her, still I want Ashanti children. So in actual fact, I have to marry somebody for you back home. In the Ashanti region.
Yeah.
So you have to try and produce my grandchildren for me. And because of this, now the marriage is in a brink of breaking off. And the guy is being poisoned so much by the mother and convinced. So now the guy doesn't even treat the woman with no respect. As far as he's concerned, he's traveling in and out the country, going back home, meeting the new one, which is stupid.
So the old views sort of influenced him.
That's it.
And went into his brain.
Yeah. And some other people that I know, I have some Ashantis who are married to somebody like, for example, not even far from each other, Ashanti man married to, which one, I should say, is it the one next, B, okay, Ebono woman, which I know of. And the way this man treats this woman, I noticed that Ebron women, if I was a man or from any other tribe, I would marry a Ebron woman.
They seem very patient. Is that...
Very, very humble, very patient. They know how to treat men and their family. They are very calm. They don't even fight the man's family side. They are very humble, very, very humble. So because of that, a lot of men, different tribes, when they get married to the Ebro women, they try and abuse that respect, which is very, very sad.
That's not good.
Yeah, very, very, very sad. And then we have the others who are so scared of, of having to marry some different tribes. And the parents arguing with them, saying that, no, you can't. It still exists.
Okay, but it's not as strong.
It's not as strong.
It's more like within the home. It's not in the open. A bit like racism in this country nowadays. It's more hidden than it is. than it was in the 60s.
No, racism in this country is more endurance than the marriages, African marriage. Because African marriage, they make it obvious you're not welcome. Except education, educated children nowadays,
Yeah.
they're trying to put their foot down, saying that no, regardless of everything, I might have probably met somebody at the uni that I like. It
Yeah.
could be Ewe, it could be Dagomba, or it could be a Bruno Man, or it could be a Kuyapim or Infante. They still, because we've been influenced by parents, the young ones still have this at the back of their mind that, oh, would my parents agree for me to marry so and so? So they can live with a woman for a long, long time because they are not so sure whether their parents or their family would accept the marriage.
Which must be a horrible feeling.
It is, and I understand if you're marrying somebody from different country, that you think, oh, I'm going to lose my children to somebody from Ghana and Uganda. So you're not sure whether your daughter or son is going to move to Uganda or going to come back home.
Yeah, but at the same time, you say that. At the same time, if I be devil's advocate, the borders weren't really created by us. It was sort of created by the colonists.
Yeah, of course.
By the powers that was before, so such as the French, German, Italian, and the English, Portuguese, especially the English and the French. So before that, it was countries. Ashanti region, or Ashanti at the time, was a country. The Gat people, I think it was called Gamache.
Gamache.
Or something like that. That's what Accra was called. That region there. That was seen as a country. Then you had the northern tribes. There's like 100 tribes, but it was considered like a country or a region.
Yes.
So, but until the borders were made and we were given independence, this is like the first time we had to integrate. But the old views, which is the substance, doesn't always take over the image.
I understand.
So it might seem that we're all together, but it takes a while for our views to all be the same. Yeah. For us to just integrate with our cultures. Yeah. So I'm not saying, it's a good thing for us to want to be separate, but I'm just saying once upon a time, each tribe was seen as like another country. Even within the Akan tribe, the different tribes within there, even though they believe they come from the same mother, they were split so far apart, it was seen as another place.
Yeah, because it's Ashantis, majority of them is in Kweu and Achim. So you might be thinking, sometimes when you meet Kweu person who is living Ashanti region for so long, they classify themselves the Ashantis, unless you know that their background, then you will know that no, they are Ashanti, they are Kweu, or they are what do you call it? Somebody called Mr. Aka, who was from Infante, Takrade. Takwa side.
Takwa.
Yeah, that's Aka.
It's not
Aka family. Inzima people.
Oh, right, Inzima,
Yeah.
okay.
We have so many Inzima that live in Kumasi. If they don't even tell you they are not from Kumasi, you will not believe it. So people like that live in the same town with you, like they've been even born there, but their background, mom, grandmothers and that from Inzima. Even that, you went to the same school, you grew up with them in the same area like Kumasi. It's a big deal for Ashanti person to marry to them. And the same way, vice versa, it's a big deal for that person's relative, thinking, why are you marrying a Ashanti person? You should marry to so and so, your own. It still exists. But what I'm saying is, it's mellow a little bit now. It's not so tight, but it still exists.
Because whether you like it or not, whether you feel open-minded, sometimes the way your parents' tradition or the way they were, it still has a sort of influence on you. It's still on the back of your mind. And you never know, something bad might happen in another place and it might influence you more. You might have had a hard life, you become more bitter and you start to become more like your parents.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see people like my cousins, which is like your nephews and nieces. They're very open-minded.
Yeah, but
Like
they're married within themselves, really.
and that might be because of what you said. Because if they know what their parents or their parents' parents.
Yeah, but even when you're talking that back of the day, my time, in 50s and 60s, which is not long time, but those days, you have to marry somebody from the same village. The same village. If they have to go as far as even a distant cousin, you have to marry.
Yeah, as long as you don't come from the same, what do you call it? Is it a clan?
Blood.
Yeah, they don't come from the same blood.
Yeah.
So if you're from, what would you call it? Is it
Cousins.
Oyoko?
Yeah.
You can't marry another person from there.
Yeah. The same enton, you can't, marry the same enton. But saying that, even now, this type of marriage still happen in this city. What's it called? Sunyai side.
Okay.
They married to their cousins. They still married to cousins. They are allowed to.
But didn't most, Akan tribes originate from Abuno?
Yeah, of course.
Well, back in the day, I think it was called Bunumai.
Broma, yeah.
So that's our origin in that sense.
Yeah, in that.
So are you saying they keep to tradition?
Oh, they still keep to their tradition. They are allowed to marry cousins. So that whatever wealth they have still remain in their family. But Ashantis has shifted from that side. Now and then you will hear the Ashanti peasants say, "Oh, this is my long distant cousin," which is very, very rare. But it does happen. It's not too often like Bruno. But saying that now people can, I'm talking about Ashantis, you were supposed to marry only somebody from your village those days.
So you couldn't marry a next village. So say you come from Donyana, you couldn't marry someone from Kutanasi or Mampong.
They find it even a distance. But now you are allowed to marry somebody from Boedi to Obuasi. You can marry anybody. The parents has now accepted, so long as the person is probably Ashanti, but come from Edra, Mampon, and then Bekwai, you can marry each other. They don't have a choice. They didn't have a choice.
Okay.
But that's how the marriage is mixed up. But for somebody from Ashanti going to marry somebody from Wa, is still a problem. From somebody from Wa, if you're a man, you cannot marry somebody from Ashanti. A Wa man cannot marry somebody from Ashanti because the Ashanti women's side will not accept that marriage. The discrimination is still there and it's so sad. And because of that, a lot of the Ashanti men take advantage if they are living with, or if they happen to have children with somebody from North. For example, a Ashanti guy married to a woman from Wa or Tamale. They seems to take advantage, disrespectful to the women, knowing very well the woman is, very, very humble and everything to them, his side of the family, but still they would never treat the woman like their own, which is very, very sad.
But to conclude, you have, like you've already kind of said, it has improved.
About.
Like it's still there.
It's still there.
But it's not as strong as it was.
No, yeah.
And it's a bit more lenient.
Yeah, I think it's about 50-50 now.
What's your opinion on that? Do you want it to be that way?
No.
No, I mean, do you want it to be more integration? I mean,
Yeah, I want it.
the fact that it is changing slowly.
Yeah, I just wish it changed even quicker.
Okay.
And clear. Make people understand whoever that you meet. So long as we all come from the same country. Now, so many people marry to other people in a different country. For example, I didn't marry somebody from my own country. I married a white man. Do you understand? And I was young. I traveled, done my education, met this guy. I thought, oh yes, let me get married. We got married, and we're still married. But deep down, it doesn't mean anything now who you married, even in
Okay.
especially in the same country. What's the big deal? Or neighborhood distant countries like Nigeria and all that. They are all human beings. So long as you are both love each other, sincere and everything, we should try and not to be so discriminated to each other.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Well, I'm gonna try and end this now. I actually agree with what my mum said. I think that it should change even faster. I like the way my cousins are. It's a shame that, you know, the pressure from their elders influences their decision. It might be more indirect pressure because they know what the tradition was like and how it still is. But I think eventually we're all going to be together. Soon, you know, a man, an Ashanti man marrying a Fanti woman won't be frowned upon as much as it is now, and especially back in the day. And people can just, you know, accept another man's culture, another woman's culture for the sake of the children. Because it's the children who will carry it on. They were once children. It got passed on by their parents. And it's just a cycle. Hopefully the cycle gets less strong. My English is not really that good. My mum basically said it all.
Put yourself down.
No, my English is not that good, but I do agree with everything she said. I just wish it would be faster. Because when you go to Accra, that's the way the whole country should be. Accra is a great example of everyone from different tribes just being together. Like you don't even think about tribes when you're in Accra, really, unless you know. Obviously, you do think about it, but you know what I mean. You could go to. I remember I was in Teshi and some guy was asking for money. There was this I think it was Nungwa, to be honest.
Nungwa.
It's a place called Next Door. So if you keep driving from Labadi towards Sakamono area, there was this guy asking. I was like, "Where are you from?" He says, "Oh, I'm from Bolgatanga." I never would have guessed. I wouldn't have known. I just thought, okay. And then I remember meeting another person. He was from a place called Salaga. And then you meet so many people. They might be born there, but their parents originally came from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I love that. Even in Kumasi a little bit, you've got many airway people who live there as well. So I just want to see more integration. But don't forget where you came from. You know, don't try and ignore your roots. But don't ignore other people's tribes. So we're going to leave it there. So I hope you liked the video. Sorry about the shaking. My hands are very shaky. It's not easy to hold a camera with, you know, in one place. But if you liked the video, please like. If you didn't, feel free to dislike. If you haven't already, please subscribe. You know, good luck to the non-believers and God bless to the believers. Peace.